Welcome to spring season. Welcome to spring season. Heading into spring season, right at the start of Aries, spring equinox, actual start of the year. Aries is in my 7th house, and this is what I learned. 7th house being the relationship you have with others. I think this is a really fun paradox because Aries is a sign of self. Having it be in the 7th house, and then all the Libra risings have Aries for 7th house, and this is really fun for me personally to observe and learn because I've grown up learning how to be of service for others. So very much Libra, like balancing my environment, always making sure other people were okay so I could kind of feel okay if my environment was okay. Doing that all my life, and then learning that Aries 7th house means I had to learn how to find my own self and my own strength and really own that for relationships, for myself to work. And this made sense to me because growing up I always overdid it, overshared, overgave, to the point where I barely brought any of that to myself. So learning how to actually take that back into myself was something like a trajectory for me to learn throughout my growth. Seeing this and now having like the full focus to be able to pay attention to what Aries in 7th house means for me for this season was really cool. I wrote, for Aries, it's claiming place in areas of void with vitality. Again, I do want to say that all of this about like all my astrology studies specifically for these kind of videos are referenced a lot by The Inner Sky from Stephen Forrest. It's a really great reference, especially because it's super unbiased, honestly, and it really focuses on the archetypes itself rather than any other opinions. Back to this. Ability of will to triumph obstacles, doubts, existential courage in adventureness, selfishness in seeking experiences for growth. That's one of a huge point. Let me say it again. Selfishness in seeking experiences for growth. Expression of physical freedom, survival instincts. Aries is the first sign of the zodiac, right? So when you think of like a life trajectory, it's kind of the newborn energy. You're enacting on all your stressors. You're just like, I'm just acting on my whim. So that's energy. Like, how can I bring this all back to myself? Because as a newborn, you're not thinking of anyone else for sure. Also wrote as a side note of something else that I learned off of, I think I saw it on Pinterest, is what is in your 7th house is the energy that you crave or attract for a relationship. Because Aries is in the 7th house for me, what I am attracted to in the archetype sense for our Aries is the independence, the bold, the straightforward. So what I've learned during this time was understanding Aries energy with how I've been in relationships. Impulsive sprints without taking time to see if it's meant to be invested in, or if it's a mutually quick story. I always was just a quick start, and then everything else would be like, okay, I think I can make it work. So I never really waited to see if I should actually invest my time. During this time, I also got to appreciate heavily my independence to do exactly whatever I wanted. And this really came with setting firm boundaries with the person I was staying with at the time, keeping that boundary really firm with like strangers, with other people I was having interpersonal relationships, like friendships and all that. Like I was able to really be like, no, this is what I need for once. This is what I need. Please give me space. These are my boundaries. This is what I require for a relationship. I was very firm about these things during this time. Understanding my needs and desires enough to still pour into myself, even with added abundance to others. During this time, I had met someone who, for the first time, was so giving, like in a lot of ways, like affection, material, like gifts. It was really nice. And a part of me deep inside really felt like, okay, they were giving me all these things. I feel like I need to give something back. Like I feel like, how can these things be unconditional? Because I'm just not used to that. I'm not used to having like unconditional affection for so long, or unconditional gifts for no reason. It was just so surprising for me. And even during this time, he kind of helped me be like, own what you are, like own what you want. Seeing him, like he would always say to me, be like, don't settle, don't talk to those bums. And it kind of made me like be really firm, because even with him, he was like, be more demanding to me. And I was like, okay. So through like an experience I met through a person, he helped me own that about me. Like just be more confident in how I approach other people, especially like in regards to the work I do, like how to be really firm with my business and how to be firm with how I'm making money. Like it's just really cool to have that kind of encouragement. I got to ask myself a lot during this time because I did meet new people still. How will this person add to my life? What can I add to theirs? Do they challenge my freedom? Even the current relationships I was having, I was asking myself these things, and it helped me clarify for my next steps, because during this season I found more people who I accept where they are and just understand they won't be going with me to my next chapter. Because I have called myself out, and this was the beginning of Aries season, to mention the impulsive sprints of getting into things. During this season I really got to watch myself. There was moments where I'd be really eager and act on emotional impulse, and then there was a lot more moments where I was like, is this good for me? During this month, I knew my trajectory was not to be scared and to really stand firm on who I was becoming. With the Aries energy, I added fuel to moving out by staying on like a consistent schedule that I had made for myself. Waking up at 5:30 every morning, leaving the house by like 7:30, coming back at 8:30 after she had like taking care of family matters, her schedule, so I could just come right back when it's like silence in there. There was a lot like of strictness on my end for being really firm. I was like, no, this is who I am. If this is what it takes to stand firm on who I am, this is the schedule I'm gonna make myself. During this time, I really got to communicate my needs, my desires, my issues from my perspective without finding a common understanding. There was still that firmness where I'm like, I'm not gonna shake my own opinions just because someone else won't understand me. And if it causes tension in the house, that just shows that I'm meant to still hold firm, because I'm done changing who I am in the slightest bit to make other people comfy around me. So I realized I can't stay in a place long, because this is evident for me that I'm really firm on like who I am and who I like am becoming based on the changes I make. During this time, I also got to release what challenges my freedom, including breaking limitations on speaking up on how I feel, not holding a grudge, being accountable for my part, and sharing a solution to help a connection going forward. With this person, they had actually impacted what I'm learning about myself heavily during this time, and it was so coincidental that he's also an Aries, so it just like added more of that kind of energy to learn from of this archetype. Just want to make a quick side note, Aries is one of my most karmic relationships because they are my south node, and it just makes so much sense because every Aries I've met really taught me a lesson in finding myself. There was a moment, even with this, I have to admit that I almost impulsively jumped into something I didn't even know I would want to invest in long term. I almost got caught up in those gifts, generosity, and just almost was just like, let us just get into something. So I'm really grateful that he was quick to be like, nope. At first he was like, what? The rejection didn't make me anything. It was just like, yeah, what am I doing kind of energy. So that was really nice. I love that. Rejection was a really great redirection for this moment, because I was like, yep, that was me doing the impulsive thing again, and it really had to take someone else to be like, stop. Honestly, if he didn't do that, I could have almost jumped into another fast relationship on a whim without fully taking my time. For me, it felt different. Everything felt different from my experiences, and because it just felt different from everything I experienced, it felt like enough for me to just go in. But it's still, even right now as I'm reflecting on it, it was a good thing. I felt like during this time that these are my last tests and moments of struggles within relationships with others, because it just made me more sure of who I want in my life, and who, like, the energies I do want to pour in and invest in, and the energies I want to have the same reciprocated back to me. I felt like I got to see the end of that. There was another significant new connection. It was with a new friend I had made, and what was so nice and interesting about this moment, it was the first time seeing myself place a boundary towards a friend and being really firm in who I am, and told them that what they had done had affected me, but but gave a reason why. It was just really nice to have that ebb and flow received back, as in like, oh, I really didn't know, I'm so sorry, like I won't do that again type thing. And not that I won't do that again as in they had to change anything about themselves, but it was more like they finally knew where I was coming from, so they would hold back a little bit more from that energy. Really cool to see myself place boundaries towards like a potential love interest and a new connection as a friend, because those two things were something I had struggled with communicating for a very long time. Two great opportunities of seeing myself do this. Wow, I'm so happy that I got to focus on the relationship with myself during this time. It felt so perfect starting spring season and finishing off with that intense hermit phase from my hibernating winter season. Already craving and wanting to be around relationships, but knowing how to actually make them long lasting and more suited for me, because you know, I used to be the person who was just like, oh, I can get along with absolutely everyone and everything because I overgave, because I would like wear the mask, because I felt like I really understood other people so well that I could mesh in with everyone given like a one-on-one moment. I don't have to be giving my energy to everyone that I meet like that. I don't have to get to know everyone on that deep level. Now I have that discernment of who's more suited for me. I love it. I love it. So this is my Aries season. It's so beautiful. That love of self and that figuration of self, the owning Aries energy of self. It felt beautiful. Just learning so much. Taurus season has been interesting. Taurus season has been interesting because it rules my 8th house. 8th house being transformation, relationship with sex and deep connections with self and others, debt, inheritance, money that's unseen, money as the energy itself. It being Taurus has been interesting. I also learned that 8th house can also show you where your deepest fears are. Learning that Taurus is the sign of resourcefulness, of the material. I had a deep-rooted fear of losing the material, of not having material, and kind of having to learn also how to part ways from what materials are to me, to like have that detachment with things. The traits I wanted to embody for Taurus were peace after the fight, because it comes after Aries. So Aries has that bold, let me do everything my way, let me do it all, just like the impulse, like it comes all from that big good first energy. But Taurus is more like, now okay, here's the calm. They are the peacekeepers of the zodiac, so it's a calm, timelessness, serenity, to be infinitely complex yet so simple. Reminder of connections with and to natural resources. So going outside, making sure like I'm connected with the water. Like during this time, I had increased my spiritual hygiene by staying consistent with how I shower, like in terms of every time I shower, I actually keep it very intentional that it is a full cleansing process. I'm spiritually cleansing along with physically cleansing. I say out loud, I wash away all things that no longer serve me. I wash away all old, negative, stagnant energies. I coat myself in protection with the water. I protect myself. I do not allow any negative energy to impact my field. And that's how I like shower every morning. That's how I finish my showers after the singing, you know, gotta do some singing. Also during this time, I learned with the Taurus symbol, patient practicality, routine. Tauruses are known for having that in them to find their stability within routine. That's why they are the most consistent in terms of if you give them that 5-day-a-week schedule, they got it. No problem, no problem. It's easy to flow. That's a trait that was hard for me to come by. I'm not so much of a routine person like that. That's why school wasn't a big thing for me, but I digress. Knowing security within is to not be distracted by the material world. It's great to keep yourself grounded to the material world, but not to have your whole life be about that material world. We're gonna finish recording without that extra light. I feel like this is okay. I want to use more natural lighting anyways. The things I learned during this Taurus season: being unafraid of trusting the unknown when it comes to moving locations. During this time, I currently didn't know where I was going, and I was okay, and I was just trusting I was on the streets again. Even though fast forward, I did spend 1 day out on the street, two days out on the streets. that was a learning curve. That was a really strengthening standpoint, I guess, now that I can see it like that. The day that I did move out from the place I had stayed for 7 months, the move went by so easily. Storing at her place is really nice because she has her own storage, so it's really out of the way too. And that was really perfect for me. I was worried it was gonna be in the way. I don't like being in the way. I got to stay at her place for a week and a half, which was great. That was longer than I expected to stay anywhere. Because I truly didn't know where I was going after that. Though I had been told after 5 days of sleeping there that I wasn't allowed to stay there anymore. Won't get into the details because it's just gonna sound a little bit bitter for it. When I look on a grand aspect of things, it was meant to happen that way. Knowing that, because I knew we didn't really resonate with where we are in life right now anyways, can't make something happen. So I knew my energy just wasn't meant to be there long. So I had to just trust that. There's someone that I want to say a special thank you to. I won't say their name, but there was a special person that had been in my life for a couple months that just really gave me an abundant feeling towards affection and gifts. So it was really cute. Throughout that time of knowing this person, it just made me feel better. It made me feel like there are people out there like that, which is really good for me to experience. Though I have released this connection due to the passing cycle and evidently knowing my worth in that connection, but I'm really grateful for that time. I didn't even mean to cry. What the heck? Like, I truly didn't even mean to. Whoa. I'm gonna keep going on though, because truly I'm not trying to be sad about this. I didn't even expect to be. During this time, I bought a garbage picker. I had an abundance of plastic bags at that old place, so I took 2 every time I went for a walk and just picked up trash wherever I was near a big garbage, and also around a lot of trash outside. So I picked up 2 bags at a time. It brought a lot of joy for me because I walked by these areas for 7 months and just kept thinking, what can I do about this? What can I do about this? So when it got warmer out and I had the supplies for it, because I didn't want to pick them up by hand. I know sometimes spiders and stuff be sticking to those things, so I was like, no, I need a garbage picker. During this time I've been healing my relationship with money heavily. Evidently, the relationship you have with money is the relationship you have with your self-worth. Giving more love to that area, but also having more intellect when it comes to that. Had to fix that. I just noticed how angled it was. I finally was trying to integrate living below my means. During my past spending habits, I had a visa. So just having a visa and a low financial background, also just a low or lack mindset anyways. I got into the credit heavy. I'm like still recovering from that debt recovery. Knowing all the things that I know now, I really wanted to keep hearing live below my means. Self-made millionaires that I follow on TikTok have all said in common to live below your means for now. Like, don't worry, it's the patience, it's the journey, it's the everything in between that matters to build you up to that bigger point. Because if you reach that bigger point without learning all of these lessons in between, you would have it, you would be able to be using it, blessed with it, all those things, but as quick as it came, it could quickly go away if you're not financially literate. So learning all that during this time and truly watching myself do my best in living below my means, which I really did, was amazing. I started Gamma Evolution. That's a creator on TikTok I had followed for a year, started her own mentorship program because I had followed her for a year, seeing the journey that she shared with us, her energy in general. She's another Leo, and I'm like, her energy resonated with me a lot. During this time when I heard that she was offering it and then at a discount too, there was just something that clicked where I was like, I need to be, is this a sign? So I had my first meeting, 15-minute meeting with her to see if we make a good fit for each other, and we just clicked, we bonded, and I was super excited. I missed having my therapist. Therapy isn't part of something in my financial plan right now that I can keep consistently, even though it is a great price and a great alternative for any kind of therapy. I think at this point though, I need uplifting. The therapy helped so much with the blockages I had with people. She helped me so much on setting boundaries, learning how to do that. I learned through my therapist. Bringing more awareness of how I viewed people and conversations too was really nice to have through her. Now I'm at this point where I want to elevate. I want to like go on an incline up. Now I want to be surrounded by mentors. Of course, I'm still open to therapy. I am planning to go back to therapy as soon as I can. Though for right now, mentorship is I'm really grateful to. The 2 lessons that I had with her so far during this season were already so beneficial, helped me through the blockages I was having during that time, which we're going through right now. She's helping me through material block because I've come from being homeless. I'm scared to like lose things. I don't know how to properly visualize the actual material for things. All I've ever wanted and manifested for so long were things that you couldn't touch. Like I prayed for freedom, I prayed for confidence, I prayed for the skill to stand on my own and be strong on my own. I prayed for those things. During that time, it was really hard for me to even care about like actual things, but I've always thought, I was like, okay, I want to manifest a house. But when she was asking me about it, she's like, what would you want your house to look like? That surprised me. I really didn't even know. She's helping me come back down to the earthly plane and try to focus on what I can grow now that I've grown so much spiritually, so much emotionally and intellectually. Now to bring that all into like the grounding force, I'm grateful. She's kind of she relates to my story as of her past a lot, and that resonance is really helpful for me too. I wrote on here that I'm ready to share and trade resources with others. I think this part is what I'm most proud of because I used to really give people my full 100 right upon meeting people. I wanted to show people all my cards, all of what I could offer, and you know, I get good responses from it for sure, of course, because I'm showing like the best things to give like my best friends all at once. Now I'm learning how to not do that, but really see and discern who deserves that side of me, who is on the same level as me to be wanting to do that, who has their own skill sets but wants to share their skill sets but also wants to learn. That's where I'm at with this, and that's I think where this is stemming from, writing that. I did write how I spent a night in A&W. That's a fast food restaurant that's open 24 hours. I spent a night in there. The first night I left the place where my baggage is. I don't think I slept at all. I didn't sleep at all that night. The second night I slept at A&W. Third night I slept here. When I left their place, I was scared. I was feeling all these things that I initially felt the first time I became homeless. I felt the resent, I felt the anger, I felt confused, I felt belittled, I felt so small and so misunderstood. It was eating me up the first day, but I really want to focus on the celebratory energy, which is why I think I was kind of like in a, oh, everything's okay, everything's fine, which isn't completely bad to have in this situation, but also to me at the time, I didn't know what else I could do. I was like, I'm faced with this fear, but I'm just gonna try to enjoy it. So I remember that first night that I left, I went to hotel lobby, did some work there, drank there, enjoyed my time, stayed there until they closed. And I went to a 24-hour gym to kill some time there, but I was getting really tired. I ended up going to a Tim Hortons and just staying awake there. After waking up from A&W, I asked myself, I was like, I completely surrender. I have no idea what I'm supposed to feel, what I'm supposed to be doing to not be on the streets again. So I went to Lakeshore. I stayed by the water for 7 hours, crying, confused, just letting it all out, letting everything out. And all I heard in my ear, all I've seen in some messages were, let go of your past anger. And from there, it just made me realize when I was faced with being on the street again, everything that I've ever gotten angry about in my life came up. That's what happened, because I was just like, I can't believe I'm going through shitty times again. And just hearing myself say that and analyzing it, it was the fact that some part of me so subconsciously was stuck in that old pattern that things are so hard for me, things are never gonna work out. By the water, releasing the anger, feeling it out, truly seeing where it stemmed from, seeing that I've never known or felt what home felt like. I did have a home growing up, though it never felt like home. It just felt like some place to sleep in. It didn't feel like home. Learning about that whole deep fear during this time was evolutionary for me. Where I am right now, I took a huge leap forward. I didn't know if I wanted to say this. That day where I completely surrendered, I actually received help a couple hours after to come here from TikTok. I'm not in Toronto. I'm not in Canada. I'm actually in the US. This is my first time truly being in the US, really being in the US. A car trip to the mall to Seattle doesn't count. This time I'm actually like sleeping here, being here. I won't say where. The trade-off of being here is watching his dog. And how interesting, because I've been manifesting a companion. I've been manifesting being with a dog for so long, especially with how much I've been spending time outside. I've been craving to just have that companion to walk, and now look at her. Angel, say hello. Angel, say hello. Hello. While being here, within the first 3 days, I physically felt an unblocking in my brain when it came to material lack. It was crazy. I don't know how to fully explain. It just felt like him and his sister are very materially abundant. They literally buy whatever they want. It is so, I'm not gonna say anything about what I think about their spending or anything, but to be around that energy, to just have that limitless, like, oh yeah, let me buy that, not think about it at all, is actually really nice to be around during this moment, because of how much I've been around those same as me before who experienced material lack. They were like having to budget, only buying one thing at a time, just being really like keeping close with your money. I've been used to that energy all my life, having big spenders. I've been around people who are big spenders, friends who are in passing, but to actually stay under the same roof, it just felt like, oh wow, it just felt expansive. It felt like I'm attracting this energy as well, like the abundance is flowing, like I'm just in a good place to receive. If I received any type of abundance, because I was growing abundantly within, and the people around me were not able to handle that. Every time I elevated and felt more of my self-worth coming back, the people around me wanted to bring me back down to their level all the time. And if not, it became a very hostile, tension-filled place. So I can't imagine receiving my abundance during those moments. I can't. I'm too much of a jealous energy. But here, I find I could receive that all on my own, all with no worries, and that is such a beautiful feeling, and it felt so freeing. I truly feel like I achieved that infinitely complex yet simple mindset within this time, and that's beautiful. I've gained the security within, so I don't rely on the material security. Having a roof, of course, is a different type of thing for me at this point. Though at the same time, it's not that I feel tied down to this place specifically, though. I'm still carrying that detachment where I'm so grateful for this space, I'm so grateful for the amenities, I'm grateful for Cookie, and just to have this freedom to leave the house when I want, and all of that flow is really key and amazing, though this place itself not at all permanent. Going into this season, I was hoping, maybe even expecting financial inheritance, in terms of when it said inheritance and just seeing the trajectory of my life and all that. I was like, ooh, though my money has been coming up, though it's not that, it's more of the spiritual inheritance that I've learned. I have a very spiritual family when it comes to my Laos side, and I do know that. I want to tap into that again. I want to go back to Laos and figure my roots out. I feel very disconnected towards my own culture, Laos and Cambodia. I want to go back there both places to learn more about it one day. My maternal grandparents, their parents took to the temple when they became older. There's something about the resonance that's always been in my family in terms of spirituality. It's really nice to know that all my senses have heightened and I'm really connected. This was Taurus season. Very, very amazing, super grounding. It really helped. Like, during this time, I truly got to know myself on that transformative level, because my truest transformation had to be lack. I didn't even think the material lack would be that finality thing, because it just never seemed like that was the biggest concern for me, because I don't really care for lavish big things. But I guess I always just expected to have a house. I always expected to have a bed, and to go through the motions of having those be taken because I just wasn't truly grateful for them at one point in my life was very interesting. And now knowing I can stand on my own no matter what house I'm in, as long as I have a house, no matter what house I'm in, that's amazing. With a quick little update right now, the person I'm staying with, I've been here 3 weeks in 2 days. It'll be 3 weeks. I've seen the shift of our connection. It is not of same resonance. It's actually uncomfy for me to be here because I'm not considered at all here. This person has tried to make passes, but not as creepy. So at the same time, it's bearable, as wrong as that's hard to say. It's just something I'm used to, because I'm not falling into that type of attention, and that's not something I want. I wasn't meant to come here to be someone's affectionate companion like that. Now that it's been clear that I'm not here for that, I've been iced out, I've been ignored. They don't even say hi, they don't say bye. I'm grateful for their place, that's all I can say. I'm grateful for the fact that they are basically gone every weekday because they travel for work, which is really key, and I love that for me, and I love that for this situation. Though it's gotten so awkward to the point where it's hard to be in the same room. We are barely in the same room. I called him rude. I was standing on my own 2 feet. I called him rude because he was making fun of all the food I was eating, all the Cambodian food I was eating, and just seeing how excited I was to go to the Cambodian market and to see his reaction about making fun of our culture, making fun of our food. And then me, I didn't laugh along with him. I said, that's really rude. This is my culture. This is what I grew up with. And I got met with, I feel sorry for your childhood. I feel sorry that you ate this growing up. They kept going throughout the whole night. They mentioned it at the end of the night. By that time, that's when I just straight looked at him and said, you are so rude. Ever since that moment, the whole dynamic has shifted because I stood on my own ground, and I'm not holding back. I'm not trying to make things easier for another person no more, even with the threat of potentially losing this roof. I'm not doing that anymore. Like I said, I am grateful to be here. Truly, I'm grateful for all the freedom and space I do get to have here. If it just takes with being someone who doesn't even act like I'm here at all, but only when they find it convenient to say hi or bye, just knowing that, fine. But I'm also knowing I won't be here long, so it's whatever. We'll just see how the rest of this time goes. I'm sure my Gemini season is gonna be very transformative as well. It's there. Yes. Here's Gemini season. This season was really, really fun and interesting for me. So Gemini is in my 9th house. That's the house of exploring philosophy, extensive learning. I love that it's in Gemini because Gemini loves knowledge and learning, perceiving, observing. So to have that in my 9th house, that makes so much sense for me of why I continuously love to learn about random stuff, and honestly a little bit about everything. Like, I love it. Knowledge is amazing. Knowledge is power. Knowledge is just fun. Okay, so this season I got to enjoy a lot with Gemini season. Geminis have growth through communication. prone to making numerous changes in life. Along with perceiving, it's gorging with information. Journalism mode, completely on. How to remain in constant motion. There's so much to see and know, and Gemini rules the nerves, like the nervous system. So that's why Geminis move so much, because their brain literally picks up on so many things, trying to observe so many things that like because your brain is like nerves too, you know, so it literally goes down into the systems, and that's why Geminis move a lot. I saw a video saying, you know, someone has Gemini placements when they talk with their hands. And my Gemini placement is not even that strong. It's my Venus. This key point was really interesting to note. It's raw perception, using undigested facts and not placing too much meaning behind it. For me, who's been so used to being on that Scorpio mode of why I need to know the reason why of everything, having that phrase really was a nice mental challenge for me this month. It really was. It was to take in stuff I was learning about my environment and really not hold any attachment to it. Like, not bringing my story towards it, not bringing facts I know, just completely just observing it and being like, oh, okay. That was super helpful. How to witness and uncover stories in the world, how to live variably. That's what I was embodying. The quote I wrote from the book, was, must allow the universe to not make sense. If confused, that hits the target, and means information gathered is ahead of their ability to figure it out. That's literally a good quote that I like to associate with Gemini energy. The main evolutionary strategy of Geminis is to remain in receptive totality, not bringing in like your experiences and your story into everything that you're being perceived on, because if you do that, you kind of make everything personal to you, and that's really hard to detach from a logical sense. If you think everything that you're perceiving relates to you in some way, that's too much information. It totally makes sense when Geminis have like mental breakdowns and feel like they're going crazy. Like, it's a lot of observing, a lot of intel. There's just too much. This is why there's two of them. One twin is the observer, the other is the communicator. So there's constant like I get it. I hug you, Gemini. I feel the things I got to learn during Gemini season were observing connections between other people intentionally to help them through blockages, and also unintentionally gathering information about these individuals, pattern graphing. I love pattern graphing through astrology. I was learning about people around me, but I was also trying to just not have them be part of my life. I was just simply observing them. Learning to take some situations in with nuance, really as impersonal as possible, because there was a lot of triggering things that my old season would hold on to when it comes to the things that I felt were directed to me and I could have taken more personal. Throughout this season, I was able to expand my power on how to see things from a higher perspective in all cases. I just feel so much more expansive because I'm living in detachment. It feels like there's just so much more energetic room for everything else. I just feel so ready to learn about everything and anything that comes my way. What I learned in regards to philosophy, everything is much bigger than it is. What I mean by that is, when I was being triggered with annoyance and all that, when I really took a step back and I was like, okay, I might be annoyed right now, I will acknowledge that I'm annoyed, but in the bigger grand scheme of things, is that feeling serving me? So I was able to let go of stuff like that much easier, because I would always ask myself that throughout the season. I was like, is this gonna benefit me in the long run? You already know what's happening here. You already know you're not meant to stay here. You already know you're not meant to form lasting connections with the people here. And having it seen in a higher perspective was just, it helped me. It really helped me flow through this month. And when it comes to the stuff that I learned, Julian D. Medeiros, did my best saying his name. He's from TikTok. He's kind of like he has interests in art. I forgot what he said was his background, but I signed up for his emailing list because he emails out art facts, like art history facts. And he was saying before I signed up how everyone has the ability to learn more about art, but because art and the creative scene was just seen as just a pastime thing, like the true history of art gets lost in translation unless you're trying to seek it out specifically. But why not have it be more of public knowledge? Like, learn why someone painted that the way they did, you know? I also started reading The Lost Symbol by Dan Brown. I am obsessed with this book. This is my first Dan Brown book, and I really thought I had to read the Da Vinci Code first. This is this person's cousin's book, and she has like a really beautiful library. She literally is like, pick anything you want. I don't look at the books. And I was like, you don't look at the books? Let me just take this one then. First chapter, I was hooked. That's when I knew. I was like, it's been so long since I felt hooked from the first chapter. My reading habit right now, I used to love reading when I was younger. Right now, with my attention span and everything that I just am prioritizing in my head, reading is slowly still getting there. I'm so grateful the chapters are literally like 2 or 3 pages long. I literally read 2 or 3 pages at a time, stop it and do my own thing, come back to it, and it helps me finish the book. Rather that I do not work well on timed limits when it comes to books. I love timed scheduling when I'm doing like work, crochet, like when I'm doing other stuff, like more active with my fingers. But when it comes to my book, oh my gosh, if you give me an hour, I can vary from reading like 10 pages or like 2. My mind will just go. So I'm just like, you know what? When it comes to books, it'll go by chapters. That's how I was able to finish Tale of Two Cities. After having that book for like 3 years, not even 3 years, I've had that book for like a decade. And it took me to have that kind of method to read it, to actually finish it. Grateful. Something about the word noetic science in that book, something about it, I'm just saying, it just seems like I finally found the word of everything I'm actually studying right now. I also followed a tutorial to make a shirt. This is my first clothing item I made. It's so fucking nice. It's so nice. It's so beautiful. Oh my gosh. I would put it on, but I put it on in another video. So I'm so grateful. Right now, I'm finishing up pants. Have pants and a shirt ready. I'm grateful that I was able to make these 2 items while I was here. So there's a bonus in being that. Oh, also, I'm leaving here in 2 days. I'm leaving here in 2 days. I got the notice to leave. It's just we're not on the same anything anymore. That's just my cue to go. I'm so grateful. So happy though. I had the time and space to be able to make these 2 things. So happy about it. It makes me see fast fashion in a completely demonizing way. It's just like, just so much waste. It's like it's as bad as plastic. There's just so much, that we could change the world with. I also learned how to make my first Cambodian dish. Samla Machu Krung. Anyway, it's a really, it's a nice beef soup with turmeric, ginger, herbs. It's really, really wonderful. I miss the lime leaves, so I can tell I miss the lime leaves, but they just didn't have any at the store, and there's not really a substitute that I found that I could vibe with. So I'm so happy I made that. That's been super new too. I was honestly exploring innovative approaches to all my routines. Like I just wanted to kind of zhuzh up my routine in some way. There was things I haven't been so consistent with, like my workouts. There was so much mesh of critical and creative thinking. I really felt like I was embodying the twins. Like I just had so much like duality going on in everything. Like I can't even say if it was duality because it's more than dual. Wrote down women's cycle, learn more about it. I wrote it down while I was on my menstrual cycle. More scientifically understand my hormones. I want to know if I'm feeling low energy, it's because of my cycle. Because I had this association always that, okay, if I'm feeling low, automatically I'm anxious about the external environment. Like I always placed a lot of my stress and anxiety thoughts on my environment because I've been so like hypersensitive about it. But now I want to take it like more internal and see like, oh, maybe it's really nothing about my environment at all, and it's just my hormone imbalance. So I need to cater to myself in a different way. A lot of moments where I used to drink caffeine because I was feeling low, like, and I would force myself to do things that are just not in alignment with my cycle. Like I would make myself work out during my period, during my low energy times, and force myself with coffee. Like it was just not naturally like what I was meant to be doing at that time. I signed up with Audible. I finally did. I always thought, I was like, you know what, I probably won't get into it. I already listened to some podcasts. I already listened to YouTubers. I read like hardcover books. So I don't know how Audible can fit in. But then I was watching this YouTuber, Jack Edwards. He's a book reviewer. Oh, I love his videos. I have to watch them so sparingly though, because every time I watch it, I really want to read everything he recommends. It's just, he explains everything so well. His depth of understanding for them is so wonderful. Anyways, I got convinced by watching one of his videos because he was saying he has a trial for a month free on Audible, and I'm like, you know what, I'm just gonna give it a try, see what's up. The video that convinced me was he was rating celebrity books, memoirs, autobiographies. He was rating those, and he listed number one as Viola Davis's book, and I want to know more about her story. There's something about me being really attracted to Leos and finding out their story come up. So she's a Leo, and listening to it so far, I'm on chapter 3, and I'm like, yeah, yeah, let's go. There are some moments, especially lately, where I don't want to listen to music when I go for walks. Lately, more often, I've been just out earphones and just walking. That's new for me. The times I do want to listen to things, especially when I'm on like the main street, I don't like to not have earphones during main street because there's just cars. It's not really connection with like the trees and stuff. When I'm like around the neighborhood, I earphones out. When I'm on the street, earphones in. 2 days ago, I listened to her autobiography, and it was just a nice way to walk and listen to that. That's my recap of Gemini season. It was so much great things to learn and be. I think this wraps up my intensity of intellectual expansion. I've been on an intellect high on trying to really focus on my brain, focus on the intentions, focus on just reprogramming so much since the beginning of the year, starting with like the Saturn, Capricorn, Aquarius energies, and it's kind of stayed. Like even though Aries season happened, and yeah, what else is that? Aries and Pisces season happened. I'm trying to think of the signs that are more feeling, because fire and earth signs are more feeling. Earth and air signs are more intellect. Even though those 2 seasons, Aries and Pisces, were feelings, like those were nice breaks of intellect, but I feel like now I'm ready to go back into my heart space, and it's really exciting because next is the summer season. Let's see how summer goes for me. Spring was great renewal energy after that hibernating season of winter. Spring was great renewal and rejuvenation for me. So let's see what happens in summer. Thanks for watching. I love you so much. I love doing this. Please let me know if you finish watching these. These are just such cute journals of my studies of myself. Oh, it's gonna be so nice to look back on these videos and be like, wow, I've come so far. I'm already doing that with the videos that I posted last year. So I'm like, can't wait. Yeah.